your majesty wishes to surrender, then strike off my head first." The words cut through the great hall like a blade. Ministers gasped, guards froze. There, standing tall among trembling officials, was Tran Hngao, his voice thunderous, his eyes blazing with fire. This was no ordinary protest. It was a vow. In the face of fear and foreign threat, he chose defiance. His declaration wasn't merely brave, it was the roar of a people refusing to bow. In that moment, the tide of doubt began to turn. A storm of courage was brewing in the heart of the nation. Tran Quoc-Tun, born to royal blood, was no stranger to power, yet he rejected the comforts of palace life to walk the path of duty. Known to history as Hngao Vbon, he lived among his soldiers, eating what they ate, training as they trained. He was not a general who commanded from afar, he led by example. Towering in stature, with long black hair tied neatly, a square jaw and sharp, thoughtful eyes, he was the image of dignity and discipline. His strength was not just in swordsmanship, but in wisdom, strategy, and compassion. From the vast Mongolian steppes, the greatest military machine the world had seen marched southward. The Mongol Empire, ruthless and relentless, had already crushed nations across continents. Now their eyes turned toward Jiviat. Inside the imperial court, Emperor Tran Nantang received the enemy's envoy. The message delivered chilled the air: submit or be destroyed. The court fell silent. Some whispered of peace, others trembled at the thought of war. But one man, Tran Hngao, already knew his answer. As doubt filled the room, Tran Hngao stood. His voice rang out like a bell. He would rather die than see his country kneel. His unwavering stance wasn't just loyalty, it was the embodiment of a nation's pride. While others debated survival, he stood for honor. His courage reignited the spirit of resistance. His declaration wasn't just for the emperor, it was for every heart that beat for Jiviat. A general had become a beacon, a rallying cry in human form. That night, the general sat alone beneath a flickering oil lamp. The wind rustled the fabric of his tent as moonlight crept through the seams. Tran Hngao was restless, not from fear, but from burden. He knew war was near. But were his soldiers ready? Would they fight with fire in their hearts? He stared into the flame, questioning, worrying, hoping. Then he picked up his brush. If the sword was his weapon in battle, then words would be his weapon for the soul. What flowed from his hand was not a command, it was a call. I often forget to eat, and at night I pound my pillow in pain. The Huchtang SS was unlike any military decree. It was a heartfelt plea. He reminded the generals of their ancestors, their land, their honor. He spoke not as a superior, but as a father, as a fellow countryman. His words struck deep, awakening duty, pride, and an unshakable sense of identity. This wasn't just about war, it was about protecting what made them who they were. The proclamation ignited the land. Camps buzzed with renewed purpose. Villages forged weapons. Families embroidered armor. Young men lined up to enlist. Patriotism flowed like a river. Tran Hngao rode from camp to camp, meeting eyes, offering words, building faith. No longer were they just troops, they were a people rising as one, and behind every face stood the voice of the Hutch, echoing louder than any trumpet. The mighty besieged Jiang River, still and serene, held a deadly secret beneath its waters, sharp wooden stakes, waiting to tear into enemy hulls. As the Mongol fleet charged downstream, the tide betrayed them. Trapped and vulnerable, they met the wrath of Jiviat from the riverbanks. Tran Hngao gave the signal. Arrows darkened the sky. Fire roared. The enemy fleet splintered. Victory was not just achieved, it was earned through intellect, unity, and the unwavering spirit of a people defending their soil. He could have asked for anything: titles, land, gold, but Tran Hngao asked for none. After victory, he returned to Vien Kimpi, living simply, teaching warfare, writing books. Though no longer in armor, his eyes remained sharp, his presence strong. He had become more than a warrior. He was a teacher, a guide, a legend still walking among the people. He did not rule by fear or power, but by respect and love. The proclamation to the generals is not bound by time. It speaks beyond centuries, across generations. It reminds us that true patriotism is not loud, it is steadfast, it does not fade in peace, it lives in responsibility. Today, as young Vietnamese step into the world, they carry not swords, but knowledge, willpower, and pride. And within them still echoes that voice from long ago, a general's cry, a nation's soul. Stand and protect your land, not because you must, but because you love it.